To kick things off this week, we've got Button City, a gorgeous low poly narrative adventure that I first played during the Steam Ludo Narracon festival earlier in the year. The game taps into early 90s nostalgia with the story centred around the local arcade, the titular Button City. Featuring gaming's most popular anthropomorphic animal, you take control of Fennel, a fox, on an adventure about friendship, rivalry, growing up in a new place, and saving what's important. With the story centred on the arcade, it comes as no surprise that there's minigames to play, the main one being a Pokemon-esque multiplayer battler called Gobberbots. There's also the Ridge Racer inspired Revolution Racer and a rhythm game called Prisma Beats. All three are pretty simple but add to the charm of the game. Perhaps the most unique aspect of the game is the level design, with each location being a small self-contained diorama. You're able to switch between areas at the press of a button. It really is a cool feature. Although graphically and stylistically very different, Button City reminded me a lot of Finge's Night in the Woods, with its adorable animal characters and relatable story. If you enjoyed that, I'd definitely give Button City a try now. It's out on PC and all major consoles. Like Button City, Fire Tonight is another narrative adventure set in the 1990s. This one's about young love and separation and explores a time before mobiles and the internet. Just imagine that. After Maya and Devin's phone call is cut short by a fire, Maya decides to make her way across the city to get to her sweetheart. The game offers light puzzles from both characters' perspectives. As Maya, you navigate a series of short levels from an isometric third-person perspective. Devin's sections feature simple point-and-click gameplay in his apartment as he waits for Maya. Fire Tonight can be completed in a single sitting. It took me about an hour, but the short length is reflected in the asking price of £5 or around $5. It looks gorgeous, it's a lovely slice of retro nostalgia, and it's available now on the PC and the Nintendo Switch. For me, one of the best surprises of the week is CreatorCrate, an action platformer with roguelike elements. You take control of a sentient 3D printer trying to escape a huge spinning space station. You've got the ability to make copies of anything and can copy guns, knives to overcome enemies, but more unconventional items can also be used, such as tables and chairs. You've got a robot arm that allows you to swing from lamps, hit switches, turn valves, and basically carry anything in the game environment. It's a unique mechanic that makes for some interesting and very creative gameplay. The game's level design deserves special mention. CreatorCrate features a huge circular world with interconnected areas. The world continuously reshuffles, so if you die, you'll have to navigate a different path on your next run. Luckily though, there's an excellent checkpoint system, meaning death will never set you back too far. And you always feel like you're making progress, with each area bringing new items, enemies and mechanics to learn. CreatorCrate has some wonderful physics-based gameplay. Absorbing matter and copying items is such fun. It's a game that never takes itself too seriously and can be approached in a multitude of different ways depending on the player. It's available now on the PC via Steam.
My name is Evan Capnose. My identity has been foreclosed.
To foreclose is to take possession of a mortgage property when repayments aren't made, and that is just what happens in our next game. But the property in question here is the protagonist's own identity. Set in a dystopian cyberpunk world where implants and augmentations are the norm, you play as Evan Capnos, a man on the run from those who want to remove and auction off his implants, and thus erase his identity.
Your implants are not exactly compliant.
It's a conspiracy tale told through a wonderful comic book aesthetic. Played primarily from an over-the-shoulder third-person perspective, Foreclosed features set camera angles, comic book frames and captions, similar in some ways to last year's Liberated. Gameplay reminded me of stealth action games from the PS2 era, with Metal Gear Solid and Max Payne, two inspirations. Some will say the game is a case of style over substance, as the game definitely looks better than it plays, but overall I really enjoyed my time with Foreclosed. The story is interesting, there's a neat upgrade system, and combat is pretty satisfying, if a little repetitive. If you fancy a really polished interactive graphic novel, check this one out now on the PC and all major consoles. Getting a surprise and very welcome shadow drop during Nintendo's Indie Direct this week was Garden Story, an action RPG starring an adorable great protagonist called Concord. Such a cool name. Spring Hamlet has become overrun with ooze creatures known as the Rot, and it's your job as newly appointed Guardian to clean things up. The game uses a day-night cycle with new job requests available each day on top of the main quest objectives. Tasks include obtaining particular resources for characters, fixing bridges and slaying enemies. As you help the locals, you obtain memories which can be equipped, giving you new abilities and upgrades. Combat is simplistic and quite slow, and definitely takes a bit of getting used to. You start with a pickaxe, which allows you to attack enemies, you get a shield to block projectiles and can dodge roll. All of these exert stamina, so timing is crucial. But combat is really just one part of a game that blends several genres together. I imagine a lot of people will compare Garden Story to Stardew Valley, and whilst there are similarities, I'd say the game is more akin to the recent Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, without the satirical humour. But all of these games really do take inspiration from The Legend of Zelda and A Link to the Past, with the colourful top-down pixel art aesthetic. It's a large game with 4 distinct seasonal areas to explore, many characters to interact with, and a great balance of combat and item gathering. Garden Story is available now on the PC via Steam and also the Nintendo Switch. And that's it for this week in indie gaming. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the I Love Indies channel and also hit that like button to help feed the algorithm. I'll leave you with a quick look at another game that Shadow dropped this week during the Indie World Showcase. This is a Metroidvania sequel everyone's been looking forward to. Axiom Verge 2 is finally out now on the Nintendo Switch, PS4 and also the PC. Until the next video guys, keep loving indies.